Three, two, one.
Touching that vodka.
I must admit.
Here we go. Shh. Breaker 19, Breaker 19. Blue Collar Green Pockets are here tonight. Another edition of Truckers. We've got the usual mother truckers, Dave Jones and Chuck Wilson with us, along with Gary out in IT department. You won't see him, but you'll hear him from time to time.
Give us a hand, Gary.
Give us a hand. There's the hand. There it is. All right. It's actually Greg. It's Greg. We go by Gary sometimes. All right. Tonight we got a special treat. So we've got some truckers in here. These guys are out driving these big rigs, dealing with traffic, all these people cutting them off. They got a lot more patience than me. We'll get right into it. I got Dylan Odom. He's right here local, drives for Atlantic Lift Systems. We've got Wes Nance. He's out of Denton, North Carolina. He's actually an instructor now for Future Trucks of America. Tommy goes by the handle of Brown Sugar. He is up in Connecticut, and he's delivering a lot of heavy equipment too. So we're going to just start right out and let them talk basically what they do, how they got into the business. We're going to go one by one. We're going to keep it short and sweet, guys. I'm going to ask you more questions, try to level it out, get everybody plenty of talking time. So I'm just going to go right from the top of the list. Dylan, real quick, what you got? What got you into trucking, and how did you do it, bud?
I got a job as a laborer. I applied on Craigslist one day and was running the shovel. Got upgraded to a wheelbarrow, and from there, I worked there for about 2 years. It's an environmental company, pulling heat and oil tanks, diesel tanks, gasoline tanks out of the ground. And they liked what I did, so I did the more non-conventional route and went and got a CDL book from the DMV, studied it, went and took a test, and my company supplied me with a truck. And, I passed the test, and that was 7 years ago, so I never looked back from there.
And so you say you took the test. So there's different levels of CDLs, correct?
Yes, sir. Class A CDL license.
All right.
Yes, sir.
For those at home, can you give us a little breakdown of the different ones, or was from 7 years ago you don't remember?
You have Class A. It's a combination vehicle. That means trailer. And then if the guys correct me if I'm wrong, even if you have a Class B truck and you are pulling the trailer, it still requires a Class A if you're over a certain amount of weight. But typically when you say Class A, that means truck and plus trailer, meaning air brakes all around. So Class B, from my definition, is just a standard straight truck with air brakes that weighs over 26,000 pounds. So then you got Class B, C, and D, but I can't really elaborate on that.
Okay, I'm sure our instructor from the Future Trucks of America could probably help us out a little bit with that. But just real quick, driving trucks, was that a thing? Young kid watching Smokey and the Bandit, or was that after your age? I mean, to me, that's the first thing I think of when I'm thinking about truckers.
Yeah, Jeff, that might have been his grandparents. That might have been his grandparents watching that.
I definitely know the song. Yeah, I've seen the movie, but I think every little boy, they look at trucks, and most of them are fascinated by them. My son is 1.5 years. He doesn't know what they are, but something about it is very intriguing to him, and he loves them already. So,
that's awesome.
I've always been passionate. It's not something that I steered to do. It just kind of fell into it. And I'm happy that it happened. So it's worked out.
That's great. We'll get back to you, Dylan. Wes. Let's same to you. I mean, you said you drove for about 14 years locally. You're an instructor now, so little history how you got into the trucking world.
I got into it by accident, like everybody else. I was still my senior year in high school, and I had been working in a body shop, and I had the work release program, and I got mad and wanted to quit the body
You
shop.
notice they always call it work release.
That's
Everybody
what it
calls
is.
work
When
release.
you want to get out of high
It
school,
is,
that's
yeah.
what it is.
Anyway, I had to have an industrial job, so a friend of mine hooked me up at the local furniture company. They needed somebody to do some inventory. They had a bunch of rented trailers, and they lost count of the inventory. They had so much frames and old stuff, and they wanted to get rid of some of them. And long story short, I was there about a half a day, and I needed to move some of them or have them moved so I could get into the backup, and they were backed up against each other. And one of the guys in the switcher trucks showed me how they were doing it, and the other guys in the switcher truck saw me in the truck and thought I was doing it. So when I went up for break, the guy says, "Got you out there switching too?" And I said, "No, he was just showing me how." And he says, "Well, great. We're really behind here." He handed me a note and says, "Take your time, be real careful, grab the other truck, and when you get caught up, you can go back to that other stuff." I never got to go back to the other stuff.
It's a great story.
Oh man!
And then from there, driving. I mean, where you said you were mostly local. I mean, did you do any long hauls?
We did once in a while. We'd have some stuff come up. The last company I worked for, we had a company in Orlando as well, and I'd have to go back and forth between there some. And I had a friend that had a record company back in the '90s. I would help him some. We'd go. Furthest I went with him was New Jersey, but usually I try to stay pretty close to home.
Okay. And then as far as the teaching, what made that happen?
Obama made that happen. When the last company I worked for went out of business, and I got on Craigslist looking for a job, and it was 25 minutes from the house and a 4-day work week. I said, "I'm your guy."
That's a win, right?
That's a win. So I showed up, and it was odd, I guess. Years ago, as I started, my mom tried to tell me, said, that job's really hard on you. You ought to find a job somewhere where you can teach people how to back up. And I said, nobody's going to ever pay me to teach somebody how to back up a trailer. Bam, 30 years later, here I
am. How about that?
Oh, hey, Wes, my cousin is a huge fan of yours, and he was the one that kind of steered me your direction to be on the show, Doug Predmore, and
yes,
and he just respects the heck out of you.
Yeah, he was one of my in my first year, one of my first few students. I keep up with about maybe a dozen students a year, the ones that are at the excel or different, And he was one of in my first year.
So was he excel or different?
Well, he was a super nice guy. He's a super nice guy.
He is watching the show, so be nice.
He's related to Chuck, so it's fair of me to ask.
That's right. So,
all right, we appreciate that, Wes. We'll get back some more questions. Tommy, brown sugar, come on. I love the handle.
So I got in the truck about 10 years ago. Just local construction work, and I got my CDL and I got put right in a tractor as soon as I got my license. So did flatbed, started off with that, and then started out moving equipment and switched to a couple of different companies, and I've been moving equipment since.
So did your employer take care of getting you your test and your truck and licensed and all that?
Yeah, he took care of all that.
Excellent. So no cost to you.
No cost to me.
And
it's worked out good.
Tell me a little bit more about the process of the CDLs. Y'all have to do drug screening. You got to do the driving test. Give us
you got to do the driving test. The drug screen's normal and random. Just did one the other day. And
oh wow, we just lost half of our viewers. Shit.
Everybody logged off. Go hit the button.
Not true.
And then is there you have to retest for anything, keep up with anything moving. Once you got it, what do you got to do to keep it?
No,
Physical.
just the physical. That's it.
And that once a year?
So the medical card's every 2 years.
Every 2 years,
But
that one or two fingers.
For some people, I think with like diabetes and stuff like that, it's a year.
Okay.
So they want to check every year.
Okay, that's great. Dave, you've been quiet so far. I know you're over there prying on some stuff. What's your question to these guys?
I'm just listening to you. You're doing such a great job. That week off was good for you. You came back with a little pep in your
Well,
step.
come on, give us. Go ahead, Chuck.
I'm just-
Chuck. What you got?
Is Susie on? Is Susie there? I
Is
see her.
Susie on here?
Yeah, let's see her.
She in?
It doesn't-
Susie, you there?
I don't think she's got a video or anything going.
She's got.
Looks like it's trying to connect, so hopefully here soon.
Sorry, guys. That we do have one more joining in. I don't know if it's a technical glitch or she's trying to get up. But if Susie, if you can hear us, you got to unmute and hit
So,
the play
Dylan,
video.
Dylan, what are you doing exactly?
I
What your
work
job
for-
is?
Yeah, I work for an equipment rental company. I
Okay.
drive a tri-axle low boy. I don't have a drop axle on my truck, and it's pretty much the same equipment every day. We have a contract for the Navy base, Norfolk Naval. So the majority of our freight is the man lifts, JLG. That you got the
Yeah.
basket lifts, and then we got a lot of. It's mostly 135s that are going back and forth to the base.
Be sure to describe what you're saying.
How do you learn?
For the
Yeah, a lot of people don't
folks.
know what a 135 is and
Yeah,
stuff
well,
like
that's
that.
what
But
it's a man lift. It's hard to describe, but it's a machine that's got a telescopic boom on it. And it will boom a man 135 feet in the air, and they use it.
or a woman.
Or
a person. A person.
We call it a man lift.
I understand.
It'll boom you about 135 feet in the air, and they use it to paint the aircraft carriers. So
It seems. Hey, Dylan. Seems
Yes,
to me
sir.
like we're talking about driving. We're talking about driving this. And I'm gonna ask these other guys the same question, but securement of your load would have to be a big part of that job, right?
Of course, yes, sir.
Talk to us about that a little bit. Like what's that about? Where do you learn to do that? Like where do you learn? Like you see a truck going down the road, and I see chains in certain spots, and I see sometimes guys with a minimal amount of chains, and their stuff looks really secure. And I
Yeah.
see guys sometimes with a whole shitload of chains and bands and everything, and it doesn't look secure. We have a saying in boating. I know there's a saying: if you can't tie a knot, tie a lie. So I don't know if that's the same.
You never get
Well, talk to me about that.
But so my job's a lot easier because I'm hauling equipment, and most of it has tie down points on it. So the flatbed guys, they're dealing with a lot of other things that don't have tie down points on it. But in my job, I just stick by a standard. You have to have 50% of the weight tied down, and you got to make sure your chains and binders are rated for that rate of weight. Other than that, I mean, I stick to, if it's over 10,000 pounds, you have to have at least 4 tie down points on it. If it's under 10,000, you can go with 2, depending on your, the
Is that
rating.
all stuff that are they all questions on the CLD or CDL rather?
No, sir. So with the CDL, you have different endorsements. My job does not require an endorsement. My company, I just did an online class. It was simple. It was an hour long, and you test out at the end. It's not too complicated. But like I said, my job's a little easier to tie things down because I have tie down points on most of the equipment. The flatbedders, you never know what you're picking up, and you've got to get creative in securing your load, and also tarping. But I don't really have to deal with that every day.
Brown, sure you got anything to add to that because you driving them other trailers?
Yeah. So really, you just want to tie down you want to pull away from each other, not pull towards the same direction.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, more chains the better. You're really safer off using more chains. I mean, I use half-inch chains. Half-inch binders rated like 15,000.
Who would check that? Like, would somebody check that you're wrong, like the Department of Transportation or somebody?
Oh yeah,
DOT
Yes,
side of the road.
yeah. The DMV. I mean, they'll pull you over all the time, and for like oversized loads, we get pulled over for permits, for permit checks to go a certain route. Then they like to see the weight. So Connecticut's good for axle weights. So they want to see 12,000 pounds per axle.
Okay, and Wes, you're teaching these classes. So what are you teaching these guys on the CDL for rigging and all this stuff? Is that all part of your training?
No, we don't have to teach them how to rig. Most times, we get them just to where the state says we have to get them. The minimum. Once they leave us, then they usually go to a mentor or somebody if they're going into a specialized field, and that's where they'll learn that sort of thing. Usually, I'm the backing guru out there. I try to teach everybody how to back up as much as possible, but they have to go through a week of class before they ever do anything else.
You ever been to Virginia? I might teach you to get my wife to back up because it's quite enjoyable to watch.
But she doesn't watch the show, right? So you're not in trouble for this.
But yeah, it's at the school we just have to do just to the minimum of whatever it takes. The state says where they're able to start learning how to drive a truck when they leave there. We just get them the license.
Okay.
And we try to do the best we can to set them up for what they got coming, but we only have them for 160 hours.
So to get your CDL, if you go to trucking school, it's 160 hours.
In North Carolina, it's 160 hours, man. Yeah, minimal.
So once somebody gets that, what's next? Like, are they going somewhere else to learn more, or are they just getting in a truck and driving?
Probably at least 95% of what we do are going to another company. Most of the ones that we get, we have some self-pay people that pay their own way through, and they're open to go anywhere. Or some of those may already have people that's in the trucking industry, or have a relative with a truck or something like that. But the majority that come through like a middleman. We use Driver Solutions, and they sponsor the student. Basically, they pay if you sign a contract for a year to drive for one of their companies, and they pay for all your schooling.
Well, I can't imagine a more essential job to our economy, to everything that we depend on, than our truckers.
Well, it's not just truckers. If you get a CDL, I tell my guys all the time, you may not get the job that you want right out of the gate. I mean, you don't go to McDonald's and start off being a manager, but a CDL will get you a job, period. There is such a demand right now, even with the economy on the downside like it is now. We're still have a stronger economy now than we had for 10 years. And there's such a demand. You could quit a company today, and before you got home, have 3 offers in your mailbox. They're in the inbox.
And what do you think is the average cost? Sorry, before you ask that, back to the demand. What give us a kind of a spectrum of a starting pay on some of these companies that are looking for these guys that'll say, "Hey, sign here. I'll pay for the school. Work for me for a year." What kind of pay are they offering?
I can't speak for all of them, but for the companies that we deal with, the ones that I know, they start off between $700 and $1,200 a week.
And that's they're taking care of the school, they're taking care of all that, and then of course, like you said, that's kind of the bottom, and you can work your way up from there.
So they're like in the 60,000 range right off the bat.
A minimum 45,000 in a year, probably starting off. And it can go, anywhere up from that.
Now, are you out on the road all the time for that? Are you out sleeping in the truck all the time? How's that work?
No. We're based out of Asheboro, and
no, I mean, but it's a driver, like the student when he goes to work.
He's
for the
talking about
company,
the
like
job.
He gets out of your.
Oh yes. Once he gets on the truck, when he steps foot on the truck, two of the companies that we deal with, they will pick them up from their house or somewhere close, a point close to them, and they'll have them on the truck for 2 to 4 weeks before they ever get to do their orientation. They're already, as soon as they put them in the truck, they're in training.
Hmm.
So they're with like a trainer.
Yes.
So they ride around the truck together, and then they're just sleeping in that truck, and all they're doing is trucking for 4 weeks.
Right. Well, they're learning how to do the things that that you don't learn in the real world knowledge you can't get from being in a classroom. I love YouTube, but YouTube don't have a steering wheel.
It's the seat time.
Are you still teaching people to shift gears? Because aren't a lot of these trucks coming out automatic now?
They say that 80% are coming out automatic this coming year, but yes, we still teach 10-speed. The reason we do that, if you have an automatic endorsement on your license, you're restricted to an automatic. But if you test in a manual, you can drive anything.
That makes sense.
Hey, Dylan.
Yes,
Dylan,
sir.
is your truck? What is your truck? You and Brown Sugar there? Are you guys both? In 13 speeds, 10 speeds? What are you in?
Yeah, I'm in a 13 speed. It's got a splitter. It's technically an 8-speed, but you have a splitter that splits my upper gears. So it would, for instance, it would make you can have 5 high or 5 low. It splits that one gear. It's more for mountain driving. I never use it around the city. So, but technically it's an 8-speed. Well, I don't know. I don't even count them anymore. You know what I mean? But it's you don't have that over and down gear in it. Would you
want to be in a truck that was an automatic transmission?
To be honest with you, now when I'm stuck in traffic, they're awesome. I just felt like backing up in them. It was a little harder. For instance, I was trying to back up. It was backing up a grade, and the fuel's very sensitive. So when you give it fuel, the truck wants to go. And when I let off the fuel, it was trying to roll downhill, and I'm sitting there looking for the clutch to stop the truck, and I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. In my opinion, they're slower. If I'm coming down off of a mountain, I'd rather a manual so you can downshift and you have more control of the vehicle. But the industry is going to automatics because it's more efficient. It's it's saving their bottom dollar. And guys love automatics also. We can have this debate till forever. So
wouldn't the stick shift be more of a security measure though?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
It makes you feel a lot more.
Yeah.
Tommy, how about you, Tommy?
I run an 18 speed. No, I run an 18 speed. So you can split the high side and the low side. Split each gear.
Wow.
How heavy stuff do you haul, Tommy?
I move everything from excavators to milling machines to paving equipment, you name it. We move it all.
So you're pushing 80,000 or so up there? Some of those.
So most of the stuff in Connecticut, like the most I can get on 8 axles is 160,000 overall GVW.
That's a lot of weight. That's a lot of weight.
Anywhere from like 100,000 pound machine.
That's like twice what we can haul, yeah.
So when you have somebody cut you off with 160,000 tons,
it's not easy to stop. You really got to be on top of your game.
Oh man!
Now, Tommy, Tommy, are you on electronic logs? Are you on the new ELD system?
So
Are you paper logs or what?
For
what's your
running
deal?
local, we're not on ELD just because we're on a time clock, so we get away with that. But some of our trucks are. So when I went to Florida, I just use a logbook going to Florida.
And that's still legal to do that?
That was an older truck. That was a pre-emission
Okay.
truck. So
okay.
the newer ones, you would have to run the ELD, run the tablet.
I would like to add on to that one. I'm local also, and in Virginia law, I don't know. I would assume it's the same across federal, but within 100-mile radius, you don't have to run any logs, and that's as a crow flies. Once you exit that 100-mile radius, then you have to have at least a paper log. I don't have ELD capability in my truck, so when I do leave a 100-mile radius, I run a paper log.
Yeah, ELD for the listeners out there is electronic logging device, and it's basically we haven't really talked about hours of service or anything for you guys, but it's basically telling drivers of commercial vehicles when they can drive, how long they can drive, when they got to stop driving, when they can take a leak. I mean, it's basically telling you most things, right?
Yeah, they give you your half-hour breaks in between, and your fuel stops, and you could run your 11 hours and then your 10 off on the ELD.
Hey Wes, what's the nicest rig you ever drove? I mean, I know y'all got like the air rides, I mean the cabs. I mean, I've seen some really sweet setups on these trucks. What's the nicest thing you've come across?
I guess it depends on what you're into. I guess I got to drive one of the trucks that was in the beginning of the movie of the Smokey and the Bandit, one of the drag racing trucks. Okay. So it's pretty plain Jane, but that was cool. The newest thing we have is a 2013 Volvo, and it's plush on the inside. It's not like your all wood grain and extra gauges for everything you don't need or whatnot, but it's nice.
But I mean, basically, y'all are all sitting in air conditioned in an air ride seat, room for lot lizards. I mean, right? these are all nice trucks, right?
You had to go there.
Ever since the late 90s, trucks are a lot better across the board as far as interiors. You look even up until like 95, your long nose KWs and all these things that everybody drools for, the classic look and all that. You got in one of them and it was a metal dash and a vinyl floorboard, and that's what you got. That's what they were standard with. And now you get in them, and even the bottom of the line economy class, like Freightliners or the just your regular Volvos, I know those for sure, still have a lot more plush interior, more like a car than even 15, 20 years ago.
Sorry, we're getting a little static here. I think it's coming from Brown Street.
Yeah, it's not me.
No, it was Tommy. We mute him. Tommy, when you're ready to talk,
Tommy,
just unmute yourself, buddy. We
unmute yourself, Tommy.
No, well, we muted him so we didn't hear it. But if he has to talk, just hit that button, Tommy.
He must be getting a text from one of the 100 girls that are trying to text him.
His phone's blowing up. Why they talking about lot lizards, bro? you told me they weren't gonna talk about me, Tommy.
That's that.
Susie, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh, there she is.
Hey, Susie, we can hear you.
Right.
Hi, I just listened to your conversation about the trucks. I drove a lot of interesting old trucks. I'm the old school girl.
Well, tell us about them, Susie. And for those at home, Susie just got in. Susie, where are you out of?
I'm out of New Brunswick, Canada. I'm on the East Coast. That's where I am right now.
Okay,
East
great.
Coast of Canada.
We're East
Coast.
Yeah.
No, I drove East Coast of Canada. No, I drove a 1957 Peterbilt that was all redone, pulled a 48-foot stainless reefer, hauled produce out of California for years with that. I drove an 87 stretched out 359, a 320-inch wheelbase, 147-inch hood. and a stainless reefer. And yes, I've been their old school girl, right? So right up till the newer stuff, but I prefer the old school.
That's
That's
awesome.
just always been my taste, right? Yeah.
That's great.
I
Hey,
grew up
Susie,
in a
what do
truck.
you-
My dad.
You
Hey, Susie.
She's hauling a lot of syrup up there.
Hey, Susie. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
It's Dave Jones. Hey, question for you.
Oh,
we were
you're
just
welcome.
talking to these. We were just talking to these other drivers on here about the automatic versus the 13 speeds and all that. I mean, are you still driving a stick?
Yeah, I still have a stick. It's only a 10-speed. I'm only in a Freightliner Cascadia now, a company truck. But no, I drove an automatic once in a while if my truck was in the shop or something previous to this. But I prefer the stick. You have more control of your vehicle, especially in the winter weather, going down hills. I agree 100%. Like a stick all the way. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I think about it this way. Like on my motorcycle, the amount of times I've used my clutch to like tractor a little bit. I use my clutch with my gas, and I can't, to do whether I'm doing a U-turn or whatever I'm doing, I'm using my clutch all the time. I can't imagine driving one of those with an automatic. It seems like the gas pedal would be very, very, very touchy.
And there is a way to manually shift them, but it's still not the same as having your stick, right?
Susie,
Yeah.
you missed the beginning.
Now,
of the show.
Are you on it? Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry?
I was going to try to get a quick intro on how she got into it, Dave, before we got too much farther. Give her a little
Sounds good.
introduction. That's all. How'd you get into trucking, Susie?
Okay. How did I get into trucking? Well, I kind of grew up in a truck. My dad was a trucker, so I used to accompany him on trips when I was a little girl. I remember the trips well. And as the years went by, I used to ask my dad, like I'm into women in trucking right now, as you know. I just became driver of the year this year, the first one they had nominated for 2020, and I won that just recently.
Impressive.
Congratulations.
Impressive.
Congrats.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. We're supposed to go to Louisville to the big show at Matt's, but that all got canceled to do with the COVID. But I just got invited today to Nashville, if that happens, the end of November for a presentation there. So hopefully that maybe I can get on a plane and get to Nashville. I don't know, but I'm hoping to anyway to get my award presentation. So they're trying to work with me to get that. So it's just a matter of time, right? But yeah, so that's how I got into trucking.
How many years?
How
many years have you been in trucking, Susie?
42 in trucking. I first started my first 2 years in an office environment to learn everything about the office kind of deal, like how the old environment and how it all clicked. And from there, I went to 40 years in a truck. So I've been trucking 40 years, 42 in the business. I have 40 years and 4 million accident-free miles.
That's impressive.
Congratulations.
Resume. Impressive resume.
That's really,
Thank you so much.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
How long do you stay out on the road? Like, how do you sleep in your truck? Do you stay out on the road for weeks?
I do.
Or what?
No, the job I have now is like a 5-day out and 2-day home. That's kind of what I've been doing right now. Before I used to go, when I ran California, I would go 14 days usually without going home. Yeah.
Oof.
But now I'm doing a different job, but I still sleep in my truck, right?
You haven't
Even
done
when you
any,
go home?
Susie, have you done any of that ice road trucking?
It's like Ice Road back here at times. I used to look at that show, the Ice Road Truckers, and I could say some of the highways that I've been on is like Ice Road Trucking. I just never got credited for that, right? Running across Wyoming in the wintertime, if anybody's done that, they know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So this is
Go ahead, Chuck.
one of our questions that we always like to ask is what makes you passionate about what you do? And since we just got Susie, I mean, you've been at it for 42 years. You still have an excitement in your voice. What is it that keeps you out there on the road? What do you love about it?
It's my passion for the industry. I knew from a very young age this is what I want to do and what I will be doing until I can't do it anymore. I started at a very young age, like right out of high school, like when I got my job. So, like I said, it's the passion and the drive to recruit more women into the industry. I used to go with my dad in the truck, and I used to look down, like I said, and see there was only men driving. You know, we stop at truck stops, you see with men. There was no ladies behind the wheel, and I used to ask the question, like, how come there's no ladies? And he used to say there's no reason why there can't be. You know, the steering wheel don't know who's holding it. So that's been kind of my motto all through life. I just kind of carried that phrase with me. And I set out to get on a mission to recruit more ladies behind the wheel. I was on the Women Trucking Federation of Canada prior to joining Women in Trucking, where I became on the image team in 2018. And like I said, and then I just won their big award for Women Driver of the Year. So that was a big plus there, getting that, which gives me more publicity to the public, where I can, like I always say, you know, if I can just get one girl to pick up my magazine and see me and say, hey, I want to do that job. You know, if she can do it, I can do it. That gives me the will to keep doing this. My vision has always been that, right?
That's
Well,
great.
If there's
great.
anything we can do to help with that, we would be happy. And Tommy, Brown Sugar, what keeps you
It's
trucking?
hard for you to keep. Hey, Chuck, it's hard for you to keep a straight face when you say brown sugar, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
I like going out and seeing what's going on out there on the road.
And what did you have family that had been in trucking previously? I mean, what?
Yeah, I've had some family in trucking, but mostly just the construction aspect and just seeing all the equipment getting moved around. I thought that was a fascinating thing.
Unlike a lot of folks, I love construction and going past and seeing what's going on. Not so much the slowdowns as a result, but yeah, just watching the progress and so on, and the different equipment that comes in, and it's just fascinating as heck.
You know what? Hey, Chuck, all
Yeah.
these guys are guys and girls. These four, I'm sitting here right now and I'm listening. I'm thinking about our listeners, you know, and our listeners, you know, who we're really talking to on this podcast. We're talking to people that coming out of high school, aren't sure what they want to do, are looking maybe at a trade or something. Or we're talking about second career people, like firemen, military, police, maybe getting out of something, you know, want to try something else. They've been doing something else for 20, 25 years. But what I'm seeing here, just amongst these four, and I'm sure we're not even scratching the surface, but look at all the different things these guys do, but they all have the steering wheel in common.
Yeah. And
I go to a lot, just to add something to it, I go to a lot of events at high schools and community colleges, girl gala events and things like that, to promote the students and give them an alternative to another career rather than a 9 to 5.
Kudos.
So I really promote the industry to the students at that level, like in the high school and community colleges. So I do that
Susie,
a lot
didn't
as well.
That's great, Susie.
Didn't I hear
Sorry?
you, Susie, were you interviewed by, it was Ellen Boyer or somebody? Didn't I hear you?
On Sirius?
Yeah, with Women in
Sirius
Trucking.
XM?
They
Yeah,
interviewed
yeah.
you one day. Yeah, I heard that
Oh,
interview.
they interviewed me a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been
you
on
do
there
a lot.
Yeah.
You do a lot for your industry. You spend a lot of time trying to promote your industry. You know, not only the females, but just overall.
Yep.
Overall,
Kudos
and
for
I
that.
also do like a lot of charity events. I do the Convoy for Hope every year to raise money for cancer research and
Right.
awareness. Last year, I was their top fundraiser. They never had anybody reach the goal that I turned in for pledges. So I was the first one in 10 years to reach that many pledges. Plus, I was the only female that ever got to lead their convoy of 35 trucks it was last year. So because of all my pledges and everything I did, I was the first female to ever get that thing to do. So it was just awesome to be able to do that, right?
Wow.
So, yeah, so I do a lot, like I said, charities and schools and plus work, and I mentor people. If they call me up, they, got a question, whatever, I help them out, the other ladies that's got issues, and I'm always here for people, right? 24/7, basically.
That's awesome, Susie. Impressive resume. I'd like to real quick just touch base on some of the viewers that have made some comments. You've got some congratulations from other people, Susie, on that. Doug Predmore actually mentioned in his first year he was paid $57,000. So I mean, and like Dave was just saying, whether it's a first or a second career, I mean, you retire once and then you get a first job, first year at a trucking job, 57,000, and then only up from there. That's an impressive trade, guys. I think we had a couple other comments. I just want to make sure we're touching on everybody. Some comments. Nobody else likes automatics apparently. And we do have a question, and this is a great question. I was going to touch base on. I know how our panel's going to feel about it, but the autonomous trucks, guys. I mean, this is a thing coming. I know your feelings on it, but what do you think? I mean, is this safe? Is this safe?
Describe what you're saying there.
The autonomous
Joe.
Trucks, the auto drivers. Where we don't have a driver. Yeah, where we don't have a Brown Sugar or a Susie or a Wes. I mean,
or a Dylan.
Like,
I'll speak on it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't personally stress about it. When that time comes, we got to adapt like we always do. And maybe it is coming one day. It's not going to grab the industry 100%. It's definitely going to change the landscape. They might take away these hub to hub, position or drivers that are, driving fair country from east to west, all interstate. But as far as it is for younger people getting into it, I don't feel like it's a concern. You're not going to have these trucks navigating cities or harsh weather. And I do think it is coming, but I just don't think it's going to be it. I haul equipment. It can't unload the equipment. It can't put it on the trailer. But what it can do is it can drive down the wages if it does take a certain percentage of the jobs away. But what I will say is the industry is lacking what they say 60,000 drivers right now. So, if that technology comes, I feel like we'll be okay. And if it does start having an effect on the industry, we got to adapt. So,
that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Very good.
Yeah.
Wes, what do you think, bud? I mean, you're gonna have less people coming.
I think they're living in a daydream if they think they can get a truck that'll go through the mountains of West Virginia. If anybody's been on 77, even Sirius won't get to the bottom of a mountain on 77. If you want 80,000 pounds riding down the road with nothing to get to it and no way to control it, I don't want to be on the road with it. So I think if it was in places like maybe out in where it was very flat across the desert and stuff, if it was going from if you were hauling produce, say from point A to point B, and it was all flat and all straight, maybe. Is it going to take the place of 60,000 people? Not a chance.
Brown Sugar?
Susie, what do you think about that?
Either one.
I agree that we're always going to need drivers, right? Like they can't do everything that we do, like the loading and the unloading, and they might be able to go across, like you did some flat desert lands or something like that. But when they get into the major cities and all the things that we have to deal with, I can't ever see it being replacing us.
Amen.
We're always going to be in need and demand.
I would say that the infrastructure, we can't even get, roads without potholes in them. So, and you've got these older cities, they're just not built for 53-foot trailers also. Most of these cities and actually most of these factories are built for 48-foot trailers. So, there would just be a huge cost when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to it. And you can't even get drivers to clean the windshields. How are you going to get a robot to do it? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dylan. It seems like they're when they go to that model, it seems like they're talking about the autonomous trucks running across the open road and then going to this like final mile type model where the autonomous trucks bring it into some central place and then other people are taking it out more local to where it is or something. But Tommy, what do you think about that?
Yeah, Tommy, how are they going to get a robot to load and unload that equipment?
I don't think they will. It takes a lot of skill to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either. Hey, Susie, what are you hauling usually?
I haul anywhere, reefers, drive-ins. I'm doing containers off the docks. I'm usually pretty heavy haul back here, a lot of triaxles, 3-axle trailers. But years ago, I was a produce hauler. That's what I did. Like I said, I hauled produce out of California back to the Toronto market. I did that run every week for many, many, many years. But yeah, right now I'm just, like I said, drive-in, reefer, container. That's basically all I'm hauling right now. I don't do no flatbeds or anything anymore.
What would be your elevator pitch, Susie, or your 3-minute pitch for like high school kids we have, or people that maybe just got out of the military, younger 20-year-olds, or even second career people? What would be your pitch for trucking for them, whether it be girls or boys, whatever?
Follow your dreams. If you got a passion for trucking, go for it. Don't let anybody, like hold you back from it. Like some people will say, oh, I wish I had. If I have so many women that come up to me and say, I wish I had done that. I always wanted to be a truck driver. I'm thinking it's never too late. Follow your dream, follow your passion. It's never too late to get behind the wheel.
Well, I want to just jump in real quick there to just build on that, the follow your dream thing. And from the time my uncle was a teenager, all he wanted to do was drive trucks. I mean, he would have pictures of trucks, in his bedroom, all the instead of pin-up girls, it was trucks. I mean, he had that was his passion, and that's what he did, until he couldn't drive anymore. And that was his life, his passion. And there are just so many folks that is the thing that drives their life. And I just appreciate the heck out of that. And you can tell the difference on the road, I think, when you're around a trucker that loves what they do and has that, the extra level of professionalism and road respect and so on, as opposed to, and others that it's like, well, you get the driver that like they don't really want to be doing it, or they're mad at each of the little cars that is blocking their way to where they need to get to. But it's a great way of life. I wanted to touch on it's sort of a club, isn't it? I mean, you as a trucker, you get to go to these truck stops and you fit in. You have, the diners. You know where the good places to eat are. I mean, Tommy, I mean, is that your experience? I mean, you're part of something special out there, aren't you?
Oh, you're definitely something special. And you get along with a lot of good people out there doing the same thing you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I always say we're family. That trucking is my family. That's how I always felt about trucking. So that's what I always felt like, it's another family to me. Like we're all in this together and we're all in here to make it work and get our jobs done every day and enjoy the beautiful scenery, the sunsets and sunrises and everything that goes with it. Meet friends that last a lifetime. To me, it's a family.
Dylan, how does that work for you? The family feeling out there?
Yeah, it's definitely a camaraderie out here. I'm just a local driver, so I don't have too much experience with different truck stops. But yeah, you always tip your hat to the driver next to you going down the interstate. Just to go back to something that you said earlier, talking about, high school age kids and what would I tell them to influence them to get in this industry. And what I would say is, what other trade can you go to school for 2 months and come out and make $60,000 your first year?
It's a great point. That's a great point.
You can only do that with trucking.
It sure is.
And I don't know if I'll do this the rest of my life, but if it wasn't for trucking, I would not be in the position that I'm in today. And if I had advice to a young person, I would say just lose every bill that you have, get rid of your car payment, just have one cell phone payment. You go get in that truck, you work 2 years, and you can save so much money and set your life up. Just
wow,
do it.
That's good stuff, John.
5 years, and if I could do it all over again, I have children now, so I don't have any interest in going over the road. But yeah, that's what I would do if I could do it over again.
And get it while you're young, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Great
Oh,
advice.
that's good. That's really good stuff there. That's really good stuff.
And Wes, what are you telling folks out there about those aspects?
I get both ends of the spectrum. You have to be 21 to be able to drive out of state. And
Right.
I've had, you can still get a CDL, but it's an interstate license when you're 19 or 20. And I've had a handful of young kids, I say young kids, younger people, that their families were in trucking. Like said, her dad was a trucker. Same deal. Their family owned a trucking company. And they were fantastic. On the same flip side, if you've never had a job before, over the road trucking might not be the one you want to start out with. If you've never been away from home more than 2 days at a time, if you can't put the phone down and leave the baby mama drama at home, you can't be 3,000 miles away and fix it. You've got to have a level of maturity before you take on 80,000 pounds and you're driving a loaded missile down the highway and you're going to say, oh, she makes me so mad. I can't believe she cut me off like that. You've got a lot that you've got to deal with. But on the other hand, I get probably 30% of our students are people that have either had a career and they're looking for a change. I get a lot of people that are going through burnout. I get a lot of CO officers, correctional officers. I'll probably get at least one nurse a month,
Wow.
male and female nurses. Just in the last year, I had one 58-year-old and two 62-year-old grandmothers come through.
That's awesome.
If I make it to 62, I'm hanging my heels up, I'm not going to start over, but I've had a few people that come through. They retired and they got bored and wanted something to do, and I thought, well, they'll pay me to go drive around and see things. Well, you're going to see things, but it's white lines.
So instead of handing out the little stickers at Walmart, start driving a truck, huh?
Start driving a truck. And if you've got the mentality for it, it's a great job. I mean, like you say, you're going to get out and see people. And truck stops are not the best place to eat, but you can only get trucks in certain places, but you're going to run into the same people a lot of times. Like you say, you're going to have that camaraderie out on the highway. This last November, I taught my 4,000 student, and I keep up with about 40 of them, and so like Doug,
my cousin,
when Doug, he told me that he sent me a message the other day. I asked him how he was doing, and he said he just finished 500,000 miles, and
500,000 miles.
500,000. That's fantastic nowadays, especially now. I think it's a lot harder. I really commend Susie. She made 4 million miles without an accident, because there's so many more people now on the phones. They need to throw the phones away, instead of texting, you need to be looking where you're going. That and just in itself, and plus there's so many more people on the highways, and they're making trucks bigger and cars smaller, and roads smaller. You try to go in a parking lot and they're smaller, trying to park one of them. It's not as easy as it was. I won't say it was easy back in the 90s, but you didn't see it. And Susie, I guess I'd throw this at her. When she first started, she said she didn't see a lot of women. A big part of that was she didn't have trucks. They didn't come with power steering back then. That was an option.
No, they never. Armstrong steering.
Armstrong, yes.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah,
She
and like,
didn't have the GPS.
didn't have GPS. It wouldn't matter. They would have worked anyhow. Yeah, you look
You
at
had a
it on
roll
the
of
map.
you probably had a roll of quarters too to call your dispatcher.
Oh yeah,
Exactly, payphones.
Yeah, you used to have. We had a calling card. You had to dial in 11 numbers before you dialed your number. You know.
Oh yeah.
You stop at a payphone and hope it still had a phone book in it, and you dial up the place you were going to deliver and say, "I'm pretty sure I'm close. Can you help me find your place?" And she says, after she said hello, she done told you everything she knew, and she's going to say, "Let me put you back to somebody in shipping." I'm like, "You got to work, lady. Tell me how to find you."
I used to always find that same thing hilarious. Yeah, they didn't even know how to get to work in the mornings. Yeah, I used to find that a lot too. Yeah, old school way. Yeah, just do the phone call thing. Yeah, they didn't even know how to get there.
And,
you know?
and so it's changed a lot.
Well, I want to say to all four of you, you know, I have a real respect for what you do, and I have an affection for the trucking business myself. I'm not in it, but I have kind of a trucking addiction, trucking habit. I like old trucks in particular. I've thought about redoing one. I'd like to redo an old cab over to like an International Transstar, maybe from the early '70s or something. But anyway, well, they were great trucks. I just want to thank all of you from me. I know these other guys don't want to speak. You're all professionals in what you do, and we got the P word again tonight, Chuck. We got that passion word.
Passion.
And all you guys, I mean, we've been lucky with all these trades we've been doing. You know, the purpose of this is to get the word out there that there are alternatives. You don't have to sit home in your bedroom and play video games and Game Boy. You can get out there. If you don't want to go to college, there's plenty of things you can do. And this is certainly on the top of my list that I would recommend to somebody. And I just want to thank all of you for being on here and just what true professionals you all are. And we recognize that and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Here, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Chuck?
Yeah. So I was going to let Chuck roll. What you got,
Well,
Chuck?
Go ahead, Chuck.
I do have a question, and it's a serious question. Are CB radios still a thing? I mean, they were huge. Tommy, do you still get on a CB radio?
I use it every day.
Is that right?
Every day.
Oh man, and that's
only see
where
people who you pass, and
that's
Hey,
your
it's-
handle, right?
it's a good warning, you know. I mean, if there's an accident or something, you know, you just give the heads up.
Well, everybody had a CB radio about 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was. And
Yeah.
Before Sirius.
yeah, it was great. I mean, it was
Well-
you were communicating on the road, I thought, anyway. But Susie, is it
There's
still
actually-
big in Canada?
I have a CB in my truck, but I find nobody talks on it. Like when I ran the U.S. for years, yes, it was like you pull in a truck stop, you just sit there and listen to the CB all night long and just be entertained, right? But over here, no. And I see less and less people even talking. You know, you don't hear anybody anymore. I was going to mention that there too with the communication, and we were talking about the telephones. I was going to throw that in there, but the CBs, you don't hear tell of anybody much on CBs anymore. So my handle was Susie Q back in the day. That's what my handle was. But
I can see that.
anyway, I do have one. I listen for accidents. You know, maybe somebody might be courteous enough to talk about an accident or something. But as far as talking, no, not like old school. Definitely not. That was our way of life. CB, mic in her hand, and away we went, right?
So you always hang out on channel 19 like in the old days? That's
yeah, whatever channel, depends on what way the highways were going, right? In California anyway. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How about you, Wes? Any use of the CB and local ops there?
We have one truck that has a CB in it, but overall, not very much. CBs are great if you're going down the road, like you say, and there's a traffic accident or something, and two drivers can talk to each other and kind of get a rolling roadblock going. So they'll let one let the other in, and that sort of thing. You know which lane's going to be open. Or if you need local directions, it used to be that. But like you say now, there's just not that many people on them now. Usually they were CB clubs, especially around going through Virginia and places like that. At the rest areas, they'd be having like a hot dog special or something. They'd be doing to raise money for a CB club. They used to monitor the CBs in case of emergencies and stuff. And I don't think you really see much of that anymore.
Yeah, we're really missing something there. But Dylan, any you use a CB at all?
I do have one in my truck, but like Wes was saying, I just don't think people use them too often anymore. And when I do cut it on, it sounds more like the comments of a Twitter post talking about politics. It's
man, y'all are breaking my heart, man. All I can think about is Jackie Gleason and Sheriff Roscoe.
It's sad.
Wow.
I'm a younger guy. I feel like I got cheated on that. I wish.
It's very disheartening to hear. That's all I'm saying. I was about to be a trucker, but I'm out now. Fuck, I'm out. I'm out.
Not unless they bring back the CBs, right?
A lot of times the places we used to deliver to, the guard shack would be on a lower channel, like 4 or something like that. And then you could key on to him and he would tell you what dock door to go to without having to get out in the rain or things like that. And the last couple of years I delivered, I didn't run into any of that anymore.
That's awesome.
Well, I sure do appreciate you guys and all you do. And like I said, I don't think there's a more essential job than trucking. So
that's awesome. And we are a little past our hour, but I knew we would. We had a couple extra people tonight, so it went really well. I want to thank all of y'all for coming. Really, Alan.
Great show.
Alan got me a hold of Dylan today. Thanks a lot, Dylan, for joining us. I'm in a group with his boss, so that worked out well. And Susie got him in late, but we appreciate you making it in. I know you have a little technical difficulties or whatever. And by the way,
it was a pleasure.
And your record is amazing. That's phenomenal.
Congratulations!
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks so much. Real quick, back to like exactly what Dave was saying. The whole point of the show, we want to make sure we're letting everybody know this isn't anti-college, nothing. This is saying, hey, look, if you don't know what you want to do, try this. I mean, 2 months, a test, and you do it for 2 years, whatever. Make $120,000, $150,000 and do some whatever. But hey, that's a house, people. Come on. I mean, this is great money. Another opportunity. I'm really excited. I think after hearing all of y'all's story tonight, that surely there's some people that are going to jump out and maybe sign up to Wes's school or whatever. But with that said, blue collar, green pockets. We will see everybody next week.